Well, hello, and welcome to another lesson of the Focus on Contentful course. I am Marcelo Lewin, the Headless Creator. As always, get a hold of me right there, Marcelo at headlesscreator.com. Not .com. That's not a good one. Today, I'm going to end our three-part series on GraphQL for content architects by covering the Contentful metadata field, which you're going to see what that is all about, the Contentful sys fields, and how to display fields from content types that are being referenced in a linked field. In a linked field, you can reference multiple different types of content types. How do you get the different fields for this? I'm going to jump into that and show you. So having said that, why don't we go ahead and jump in? Let me share my screen here. Let me move some things around to make it a bit more comfortable now for presenting here. So here we are. You'll have access to this mirror board in the bonus materials, so just check it out in the Focus on Contentful course. But first, what we're going to start is displaying the Contentful metadata. The Contentful has a field called Contentful metadata. Right now, the only thing it stores in there are tags that are created inside of Contentful, and I'll show you that in just a second. I'm assuming they're going to be using this for other kind of metadata that is system related to Contentful in the future, but right now all they're offering through GraphQL at least is the tags. So let's jump in real quick, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to jump into a entry here, the author entry. Actually, let's jump into the category, and we'll do author. Why not? This is the content model. So the author is very simple. It has a short text field and a field for any content created by this author. So let's go into the actual content, and we'll go into the entry, and under tags, these are tags that are part of Contentful system, not tags. They're not a content type. They're just built into Contentful. So in there, you can add tags. Now I have these tags here. Why don't we go, let me show you real quick. Under settings, you can go to tags and create as many tags. Well, it'll be limited by your license, but you can create tags. So we can create a new tag called, let's see, we'll call it food. I don't know why we'll call it that. We'll make it private or public. We'll make sure it's public, and we'll just leave it as that, save tag. Okay, so we have that now. So now we should be able to go into the content. We'll go into author, we'll click on tags, and we should be able to see it there. And let's add another one. We'll just add these two tags. We'll go ahead and click on publish changes. All right, so this entry for the author, Marcelo Smith, has two tags, two system tags, right? It has nothing to do with, if we look at our content model here, I have a tag content type that I created. Nothing to do with that. In fact, that tag content type could have system tags too if you want it. Okay. So now how do you get access to that? Well, that's where the Contentful metadata comes in. So let's go ahead and run a query, and we'll do author collection. And of course, we're going to get the items. And then let's go ahead and get the, first, let's get the full name. We'll just get that for now, just to run it to make sure we get it. And there it is. And then on top of that, I'm going to go ahead and select Contentful metadata, right? Now within Contentful metadata, you have to pick which metadata do you want. The only thing available are tags. And within tags, which fields do you want at the tag? And I'm going to go ID, let's get both, and name. So this is how you get that metadata through GraphQL. I'm assuming in the future, Contentful will be adding more metadata, like system-wide metadata that you can access through here. So if we run this, there you go. You see that the Marcelo Smith author entry has two tags. This one, which we added, and the food. So if we go back, let's go back to Marcelo Smith. Tags, let's go ahead and remove that one. We'll click on publish changes. We'll go back, rerun it, and we should only have one. So you can see that. So that's the first part that we wanted to show you, is how do you access those tags within Contentful. Use that using the Contentful metadata field in GraphQL. All right, so let's go back to here. So that takes care of displaying Contentful metadata. The next one is, in entries, whenever you do an entry, there are system tags that aren't controlled by the author. They're automatically created, right? So you get an entry gets an ID. They belong to some sort of space ID, an environment ID. They also will tell you when they were published. In other words, updated. Published at is updated or last updated. First published as is when it was created. I would have loved to have this named created and updated, but it's okay. So first published at is created, published at is updated, and then the published version, right? Because remember, Contentful will keep versions. You can access all of that information through GraphQL. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and get rid of Contentful metadata, right? We'll run it again. And now we get all the tags. So now let's put it at the top. It doesn't have to be at the top. I'm just going to do that. We'll do sys. Sys is the way you get it. Now, what do you want? Which system IDs do you want? Here's where you get to everything that I mentioned. So let's get them all. ID, space ID, environment ID, published at, first published at, and published version. So let's go ahead and get that. And you can see right here that we have for Marcelo, we have the sys ID for Marcelo Smith. Well, for all of them, right? You have the sys ID, the space ID, the environment, and you can see the published version. So let's go in and make a quick change. So let's go back and you see published version 26. Let's go back and we'll take it to Marcelo. We'll say Marcelo Smith's published. And now when we rerun it, you can see it's a new version, okay? So that's how you get the system IDs that are built in, that are generated by Contentful itself for every entry. And this could be very helpful. So you can see, like, for example, if you are not finding an entry, you can see, well, which environment are we looking at here? Which space are we looking at here? Because you could be looking at a wrong space or a wrong environment, or even a wrong version, right? There could be a wrong version that doesn't come up. So very helpful information that you can get through this. All right, so that's that. So let's go back here. Let's go back to the Miro board. And finally, what I wanted to show you is, here I have a content model. And it's a very simple, this is for illustration purposes, right? But we have an author has a full name. And the author has a reference field, a link field, right? It's a many reference. And it allows us to attach to an author any content that that author created. For example, a blog, a how-to article, or release notes. So here's the blog content type, the how-to article content type, and release notes content type. But notice that a blog has these fields, right? Very different than the how-to article fields and very different than the release notes fields. So how do you get that? If you're querying the author, how do you get all of those fields if they're all different and they're all by content type? Also notice that the blog has one field called tags and categories, which is a reference, a zero to many, to category and tag. So this is also multi-object reference field, right? How do you get those? And that's what we're going to do. So let's go back here. We're going to get rid of the sys. We don't need this anymore. Let's run it again. Okay, so there we go. What I'm going to do is let's get the ID. Let's do this. Oops. Let's get the ID. So we're going to use this ID, right, to just query. Instead of author collection, we're going to do ID that. And of course, we get rid of items.